This is BZ Rieger, and what you're about to hear in the rest of this video is a recording with Heather Ann Tucci-Giraffe and myself on March 21st, 2018. I was nudged to do a little bit of context or setup before you hear the actual recording because it seems to dive right into mid-conversation, and that's only because of all the things that have been unfolding that I'm aware of that I can tune into. So I wanted to do the setup piece to help others kind of catch up if they have themselves not already been tuned in and aware, just the expansiveness, the all-encompassingness, and the absolute total reveal and unfolding of what's going on. This recording is Heather giving you some information about that. What I would ask is that you not only listen with your ears to what we're saying in the conversation, but that you listen with all of you. You are an amazing being, and you are big, you're not small. You can reach into you and understand, ask your soul the questions that you have, and you will get all of the background information, all of the comprehension that will connect the different dots and let you see what's unfolding in a totally full spectrum comprehensive way. So with that, have a listen to the conversation, and I'll have some thoughts on the other side.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. All right. So it's March 21st, and I've got Heather on the line, and it's 10:29 a.m. Eastern Time.
It may be a little loud in here. Girls have been in lockdown just for a few days. We've been out, but it's 15 women deep for a phone line, so, this will be the first time that I've been able to call. The last call that I made, I was saying how we needed to have forensics auditors check over the books to this facility because women were getting charged for medical services and products that they're not receiving or even
Right.
requesting. And that's just one thing that's going on. And, I mean, they're running out of beds. They're like 4 women deep in cells right now. They're running out of beds. They've run out of uniforms. They're running out of food. And they have state and fed U.S. Marshal inspection supposedly Friday. So it has been really hectic here, and there's not enough officers. And that's because they're having women officers work the central desk so that the men, because the men will refuse to lock down, they'll riot, they'll do all this other stuff. So they put the women in lockdown and have women officers go and support the male pods. Because
Right.
women don't unify, and they're literally threatening in here that if they try to do grievances, like everyone tries to unify to do a grievance, that they'll be locked down for inciting a riot.
Right. You want to share with us what happened yesterday with the woman on the...
Yeah. Okay, so, there's a lot of, just from my observations alone, and this has been going on since last year, but, they were undercover investigators inside of most of the facilities in the Bureau of Prisons, taking down all details, including their individual inmates themselves, fed and state, that are taking copious notes as well. I usually don't step in or say a word. I just observe. But when there's medical or any kind of human rights abuse that is just, it's beyond tolerable at all. Because I know what the end result is. None of this will ever exist again. but this is immediate, like if there is imminent danger to someone bodily or in any way, then I'll step in. Feds typically have a different status all around. So when you say something, it listens to you. So anyway, this woman, her name is Crystal Busey, and she has a known history of seizures since she was, early adult. Not drug-induced, nothing like that, just anxiety-induced. And she's actually is seen by a neurologist and all this stuff, and she's on Keppra and other seizure medicines. Well, since she came in here, and every time she's coming to the facility, she has given them their information, plus her neurologist that she sees, and the medicine she's on, and they refuse to put her on her medicine, on her seizure medicine. So she's in here, in the last, I think it's 36 hours, she's had 3 seizures, grand mal. Yesterday, within 4 hours, she had 2. The first one that I witnessed, one seizure actually occurring, and then the second one, she's next door to me, and you could hear her, and she was on a top bunk when she had that one. The first one that I witnessed, she went up because she's had them for so long that she went to the officer. She can tell when the onset comes on, and she was flushed, she was red, she was crying, and she's like, it's happening, it's starting to happen. And the officer, basically, as Crystal was kind of crumpling down and falling downwards, the officer grabbed her by the back of the shirt, literally held her up, and walked her to the slider. So in between, like in this pod, there's a slider, and they lock you in on, they open one door, kind of like the bank. They lock you inside the slider and then open the other door. That's how they keep people from, rushing out. They just put her in the slider, left her there. So none of us knew what's going on because they black out the windows in the slider so you can't see in this particular pod. But she was in there by herself, and I just sat there, and all of us watched this happen. So I walk into the office, and I'm like, did I really just see you? She's having a seizure. Did I really just see you hold her up, walk her, and drop her into the slider by herself while she's having a seizure? And the officer goes, don't worry about it. He gets on the phone. All the women in here, it was really beautiful to actually see, was all these women were like, is she okay? They were trying to talk to her through the door. One of the workers, she's an inmate here, but she works in the kitchen. She's one of the ones that lets us know, about the inspections that are coming up and what's going on outside the pod. Anyway, she was put in the slider with her, but not until, Crystal has no recall to any of this. This woman knows her on the outside as well, and so she was toning with her the entire time, speaking with her very gently, talking her through it, but Crystal has no recall of it. And medical never came down. Apparently, she came back in. I was like, where is she? Is she all right? And another officer came in, and I was like, what's going on? And they left her in the slider. It was over a half hour. No medical came or anything like that. Found out she got put back on her stuff. We all went into lockdown. So when we came back out, I was like, I saw her in a room through the window, and I said, are you okay? And she was up on the top bunk, and I'm going, what the fuck are they putting her on? Excuse my language. What are they putting her on the top bunk for? I go to the officer, and I was just like, what's going on? She's had a grand mal seizure. Why is she up on the top bunk? All this other stuff. So anyways, I said, I want a grievance, because they refused to get a supervisor. I was like, I want a grievance. This is the forms that they make you fill out. And on the form and in the handbook itself, it says that you have to talk to a pod officer and then a supervisor before you can even put the grievance in. Otherwise, they ignore them.
Right.
Well, they refused to go and get a supervisor. And I sat there and I was like, do you know that the other officer literally grabbed her and walked her to a slider while she was having a seizure and just put her in the slider by herself? And she made it so that none of us could see whether she just threw her down or laid her down. We're not sure. I don't want to comment on that. All I know is she left her in there. And they made sure we couldn't see her. And the officer was like, I go, I want to talk to a supervisor. And she was like, well, no, there's no supervisor here. I was like, Corporal Thornberry is supposedly on site. Is she coming through? She goes, well, I don't know. I was like, okay, we need a grievance. And she goes, well, she's the one that has to make it. And I go, really? I go, well, one for her and one for me, because I want to know, is this protocol? Is this how you're going to treat me if I have a seizure? I said, I've had one grand mal seizure in my entire life. Now I know why. So my cousin died while she had epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm familiar with how it feels to have one, as well as what you're supposed to do and not do when someone does have one.
Yeah, well, not drop them on a cement floor all by themselves,
No.
where they can smack and hurt.
And leave them there. And I said, and she goes, well, they were watching her through the cameras. And I was like, are you kidding me? I said, that's protocol. Is that how you're going to treat me if I have a seizure? I need to know, so that I know I want a grievance. Because if this is your protocols and process, then I need a grievance. And she was like, well, she's not coming through. And I go, well, then, and she goes, I can't give you a grievance. I go, then I want U.S. Marshals on the phone right now. Because if this is how you're going to treat me if I have a seizure, and who knows, I might have one. I feel that too. So she felt that too. I took one to this Crystal's room, but they still had her on the top bunk. Right after, actually, I emailed you right after she had a second grand mal seizure.
Yes.
Her top bunk. And there was a nurse in here for medical staff, so they came with the officer, but they refused to go in the room. And mind you, what I've noticed, at least in the facility, is medical staff will not even come near you unless you filled out the HIPAA and all that other stuff. That, and they just don't want to touch anyone. It's like, they definitely are following protocols designed by the training. And so this poor woman, she's having another grand mal seizure on a top bunk, mind you, which is cement floor, cement walls, and, steel bunk beds. So they finally get her out. She's finished with her seizure. They finally get her out, and they still had her on a top bunk until just about 20 minutes, about an hour and a half ago. Made sure that she was swapped. And she should be on a boat, which means on a floor.
Right.
Plastic boat. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so anyways, she did a grievance about, and they didn't even come and see her. So after a second grand mal seizure within less than 4 hours, she got sent to medical. They put her in an observation room, which has no beds. They have medical rooms with beds. But they put her in a room that has steel benches all the way around it and says that's their observation room. And she's like, can I at least get Depra, which is a seizure medication? And the nurse looks at her and goes, what's Depra? And she looks at her and goes, you're a nurse. How do you not know what Depra is?
Right.
And the nurse was just like, we don't have that stuff. We can't give that out. And she was like, okay, can I just get a Tylenol then and just send me back to my room? And they kept her there for a couple hours just for observation, and then just sent her back to her room. That's it. So these are anxieties. Who knows if they'll happen again, but we talked to her, to Crystal. I was like, if you feel the onset again, turn to any woman in this pod and tell her you're having an attack come on, you need help. The rest of it, we'll all gather around. Don't worry about it. And the Fed inmates will handle, at least I will, I'll handle dealing with the officers. We'll get something done here. And
so let me ask you for...
that's what happened.
Let me just ask you for a minute, because we're on the time with the phone here. So is this just that they hire the correct people to be heartless? Is there some kind of incentive that they get for cruelty? Or
no, these officers, I'm watching quietly. These officers do what they're told, and they're officers quitting. In fact, 4 leave next month, I think. Or they've already put their notices in. The officers are doing what they're told, and they're browbeated by their supervisors. Their supervisors are browbeated by their supervisors, and it's just this whole shebang. Now, when I came in, nobody knew what I was in here for. It's sort of like the Federal Reserve lying to, Parker Steele in the FBI Knox office, not telling them who I am, and then them having to find out that they're thrown under a bus, and, that they were hustled.
Right.
By the Federal Reserve. We had the same thing going on here. They had no idea, and I'm watching these women. As soon as I came into this pod, some of the women have been in the other pod with me, but they made sure I had a tablet, and I have one 24/7 so that I can get emails out to you guys. If I need to get something to Francis for U.S. Marshal Sanchez,
right,
get that to him. So they make sure I have a tablet 24/7. and you guys make sure I goal pass this so that I'm able to actually email when there's emergencies. But we're dealing, right now I feel it's more important, okay, and this is why I haven't called, made phone calls or recordings, is because a lot of times the focus goes on one, when the focus is supposed to be on everyone and how recognized and incredible and brilliant you all are. So I've been quiet so that as all these other
You have 1 minute left.
I'll call you back, so don't worry.
Okay. Okay.
All these brilliant lights are self-recognized as well as recognized.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's why I've been quiet, doing my thing, and I've got this part covered. I've got this whole grid, right? The whole BOP, the whole detention facilities on the planet covered. So nobody else has to come in to do it physically, anyways. They're incredible. Even the officers, I love all the officers, even some of the corporals, the sergeants. You can just see the hierarchy and the lack of information. It's a need to know, and so each level is trying to figure out what the level above them knows, because they just know that I'm not who they thought I was.
Right.
So I just sit quiet and I observe, and there are a lot of women that are taking notes on everything. It's all being recorded. You have mold everywhere in this pod. The showers, I don't even go in. You have those little bugs where when you have mold, there's these little bugs that show up.
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
Hi. Okay. Keep going.
So I'm not even quite sure where we were, but all I can tell you is yesterday what was beautiful was watching all these women in here, including observing myself, and watching how everyone chose to respond. There's a difference between reaction and response.
Mm-hmm.
And there was application of consciousness by these women and how they chose to respond. And it was beautiful to see, including myself, because when I get into that mode, take one thought, and whoever is causing someone else harm, they're on their knees.
Right.
And I don't even touch them. Please. Not as it appears. Okay? So I sat there and I could feel those tendrils coming out of me, recognizing that officer and the fact that she's just doing what she's been told. And there are a lot of unofficial orders that have been made and going around right now. Nothing in writing, nothing that can be pointed to, but unofficial orders. And so yesterday was my response. It was, I typically look at something, I can see the ignorance, okay, and that it's contrived. So I usually go right to those that are knowing, who allow this stuff to exist and actually have enforced these systems to be run the way they are.
Right.
And that's who I go and I directly deal with them in my way, and they know it. So there was a lot of conscious application of consciousness by myself and by all these other officers or all these other inmates, and it felt really good to go in and see them actually observing themselves and observing each other. You have a lot of unity going on right now just because of this one incident, but also others. So
it sounds like they're making they're at the point where they're making choices outside of the false construct to their heart and choosing a different unveiling for themselves.
Absolutely. And right now, this facility is overmatched with women. They don't know what to do. They're out of bed. They're out of clothes. They're running out of food. We've had the same dish 3 times this week or 4 times this week, and that's unheard of.
And while we're on the food, just tell us about I want to hear from your voice.
Well, I use that term loosely.
No, I know, but I want you to describe the meat with the cans and what it says on them.
Oh, my God. The kitchen crews are reporting, the ones that are working in there, and they usually have the men cook for the women, but inside they have, the meat that they feed us. They usually do two hot meals. Apparently, when the state and the feds come to inspect, we'll have 3 hot meals, because that's what everyone's supposed to be having.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they usually serve a meal in the morning and a meal in the evening, and then they give you a staff lunch with meat. And the meat that they use says institution use only. Some of the facilities that I toured on the 30-day tour said inmate consumption only. but they usually say institutional consumption only, or not for human consumption. So that's why I was saying they need to have undercovers inside the kitchens in every single facility, but that's just one part of it. They put additives inside the drink, at least in some of the facilities that I stayed in on the 30-day tour. But there's undercover agents, and I met with quite a few of them on that 30-day tour that are, and they're from different agencies around the world. You know, there was a lot of our people, American agencies, you know, and these agents they're grateful that this is all changing. You know, and you have Trump who putting together, you know, and this is where it comes down to it, is there's nothing put up for show anymore. Okay? This is completely changing. It changes. When it doesn't, it's only for show. That's when cards tumble, which is what Russia and China are seeing happen to themselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? China always uses Russia as the shield, so pay attention to Russia. I mean, why China goes behind the scenes and does their thing, such as, like, making the president in perpetuity, or nationalizing their central bank and letting them decide policy and protocols and laws for the entire financial system globally.
Right.
Which I got to tell you, all that's been happening behind the scenes. They just don't want the public to know it, and it's been happening for millennia. But what's beautiful about it is now everyone can see it, because when you see something that doesn't resonate, that doesn't work, that's the only time you know to change it. Most people would never have thought China was running, or the Asian families were running things behind the scenes all these millennia. You know, all the way from before America was even, quote-unquote, discovered, because I can tell you that was all contrived too.
Right, all way up to before the known history, so to say.
Yeah. Oh, the history is a sham. Okay.
Right.
So I won't even get into any of that. I'm just letting you know right now, and I'll send you this girl's name just in case her family's out there, because a lot of these women, some of these women should not even be in here. Just from the cases that I've listened to and everything else, I have watched. They are crowding the jails on purpose because the whole judicial system's out of money.
Right.
All right. You have all the trillions, hundreds of trillions that was stolen and taken overseas, and yet it was just allowed to happen so that there could be a money trail to follow through DOD. I mean, all the money was stolen through DOD. Okay. New York, Federal Reserve Bank, New York. But everything's tracked. Every single criminal is known. I don't care whether it's pedophilia. I don't care whether it's money laundering. I don't care whether it's, drug running. Every single criminal is known. Their operations are known, and everything is in recording.
And the reason, I'm just going to set the frame so people can understand a little bit. So the reason all of this is happening and unfolding, or quote-unquote allowed to happen and unfold right this minute, is so that it can be completely wrapped up, all detailed, and all ended. Is that correct?
Forevermore. Yep.
Okay.
If the people don't know what's been going on behind the scenes and it's not made visible, how do they know what to change?
That's right.
And
everything.
People on this planet that are now going to make the decision of how things run, not a few for the mass and keep the mass completely,
That's correct.
ignorant. And that was the only way the Federal Reserve System could actually go, because the first two versions of the Federal Reserve, got nixed. One by Andrew Jackson. All right?
Right.
So it's over. Whether it's Federal Reserve, BIS, China itself, who owns, most of the world debt, quote unquote, or pretends that they do, and prison bonds. It's all gone by their own choice. We have worked for years, for seriously the last 5 years. They had 5 years to clean everything up and change the practices. They did not, but this is what happened. They lose everything.
Right.
But in losing everything, everyone, including them, gains everything. They're just upset about losing control over everyone. It's that they've always known, and I've been very vocal about this and worked very diligently with them, but this is where compassion comes in, because it's not just compassion for one or a few. It's compassion for the all. Okay, they've made their choice. It's being implemented as we speak. So their fraudulent financial system is gone. And if that means the whole financial system's gone, well, that just tells you it was all fraud.
Right.
Can it be run lawfully? Yes, absolutely. That's what we've been telling them. So AIIB, Guru Rongding, I'll write that name down for you so you know how to spell it, Guru Rongding, Carl Lang, all those guys with AIIB, as well as Henry Todd and everybody else, were planning for a long time for AIB, BRICS, all of that. Russia's been trying to grapple power from China, and I use those in quotes because, mind you, China doesn't mean just your Republic of China. Russia doesn't just mean your federation, your Russian Federation. We're talking about those that were behind the veil, the team.
Right.
Okay, so I use those terms loosely. Do I know who they are? Yes. Do they know who they are? Does there know? Yes. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, those are all just fronts. Okay?
Right.
Whether it's Bill Gates Sr., Bill Gates Jr., really they're just brokers. So, and there was a huge coup or takeover within even those controllers that was happening. But it's all been foreseen. It was all taken care of. This is the moment where everyone just makes choices. So, I'm in here. I'm very transparent about what I do. People ask, I don't.
Right.
I agreed to do this when I was in D.C. I agreed to do this part of the sting operation. And mind you, this is just one of hundreds that have been going on. Some even longer than the one that I did, okay? Obama did an incredible job setting up the Saudis and setting up Russia, as well as China and everyone else. Clinton did a great job, and he wasn't even aware of it when he centralized everyone under the Economic Espionage Act so that they would use USD as a world currency. That was how we were able to freeze everyone so they couldn't do reevaluations of currency. That's why they can't do cryptos. And when they do try to do cryptos, it just crashes the systems. It's not going to happen anymore. And everyone made that choice. We're just implementing it now.
Okay, so let me just, because we're running on clock here, so for all those listening and they're thinking, well, I'm going to ignore some of the questions, but one question might be, what can they do? And obviously, as they're moved to do, but it's to start to really notice, would it be fair to say, start to really notice what's going on and feel into all of that and move your energy to an expand the state with help?
Yeah, well, focus on the end result. It's all over. This is all over.
Right.
So focus on the end result and what it feels like when you actually experience the ending and the beginning.
Yes.
Something new. Feel what that feels like. Everyone knows all to do in every moment. I'm sorry, I'm not going to play. There's no leaders. There's no followers.
Right.
Everyone's a frickin' master, and I recognize that, and I've always recognized that. And there are those that are recognizing. Now it's self-recognition. So self-recognize, self-love. Go in and apply all you've got, and have fun, and be as creative as you can.
Right.
So that was every moment. Everyone's bringing all of them in. One of the greatest psychops ever done was Sigmund Freud, telling you that dreams, this is dreams. And you know what? Now we've got to interpret them. Even Socrates and all those guys never took it to that level. Never.
Right.
Sigmund, that Freud was one of the best psychops ever. I mean, I won't even go into Orson Welles and all those other guys, but all I can tell you is everyone knows all to do. You're masters. Myself, personally, I'm going to put myself in these situations had I not truly not only believed it, but experienced it.
Right.
Okay? And all these women are like, why would you do this? And you got Randy, I get Randy and what he's feeling and all that. All I can tell him and tell everyone else is, I chose to be here. Okay? I chose to do this sting operation. Not that I chose to be in here. I told them, I'm not going to be in here, but, it's costing them quadrillions every minute that I'm in here. And all that is getting used for the restructuring. But then again, we also have all the ITech coming on and everyone's abilities and everything else. It just skips right over all that.
Right, absolutely.
But at least we covered all the bases.
Yes.
And I'm here until this is finished. My family's not happy with that. I get that. Randy's not happy with that. I get that. But everyone did all that they felt to do. Did I commit crimes? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and let's bring it, the whole idea is to bring it home to a close so we can create all new.
this is all, what is it? Life is but a dream. So you know what? Make it all you dare make it. After this, I'm retiring. Why?
Yes.
Because none of this will exist anymore anyway.
Right.
So, not a big deal. It's great. So it's just communicating with each other, standing up and be the hero that you've always dreamed.
You have 1 minute left.
That you always dreamed you've been. Experience it. Pull all of you together. Do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, fabulous. I love
you.
you before they cut us out. Big hugs, and I'll get this out. Much love to you, Heather.
My love to everyone. Thank you, and I'll send you an email with her name and her ID, and so hopefully her family can see what's going on here.
Okay, cool. I will do that. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Step up, step all in to the amazing being that you truly are. You are an ascended master right here, stepping fully into that. There's nothing outside of you. There's no experts outside of you. There's no gurus outside of you. You have that knowledge, that power, that amazing creativity. Be the hero you always imagine yourself to be, as Heather says, or imagine being, if it's for the first time, an amazing, powerful, resilient, expansive, joyous, deliciously creative, resourceful, fired up, go get 'em being. And finish out the end of this story and create the beginning of the next story we're all creating. You do this. You are the event. This is all about each one of us, all together, creating the end, close, completion of this, and the beginning of all. Not outside, not waiting for the memo, the headline, the news, whatever it is. It's all an inside job. Check the IUV for this post of this recording for an update information that I got from Heather following our call on Crystal. Much love to you all. We've got this.